Okay? You exist in the beginning, middle, and end of everything, from the most minute particle of the cosmic manifestation, the atom, to the gigantic universes and total material energy. Nonetheless, you are eternal, having no beginning, end, or middle. You are perceived to exist in these three phases, and thus you are permanent. When the cosmic manifestation does not exist, you exist as the original potency. Purport. The Brahma Samhita 533 says, Advaitam achyutam anadam anantarupam adyam purana purusham navajovanam cha vedeshu durlabham adurlabham atma bhaktau govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, Krishna, who is the original person, absolute, infallible, without beginning, although expanded into unlimited forms, still the same original, the oldest, and the person always appearing as a fresh youth. Such eternal, blissful, all-knowing forms of the Lord cannot be understood even by the best Vedic scholars, but they are always manifest to pure, unalloyed devotees. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has no cause, for He is the cause of everything. The Lord is beyond the workings of cause and effect. He is eternally existing. In another verse, the Brahma Samhita says, Andantarastara paramanu charantarastam. The Lord exists within the gigantic universe and within the atom. The descent of the Lord into the atom and the universe indicates that without His presence, nothing could factually exist. Scientists say that water is a combination of hydrogen and oxygen, but when they see a vast ocean, they are puzzled about where such a quantity of hydrogen and oxygen could have come from. They think that everything evolved from chemicals, but where did the chemicals come from? That they do not know. Since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of all causes, He can produce immense quantities of chemicals to create a situation for chemical evolution. We actually see that chemicals are produced from living entities. For example, a lemon tree produces many tons of citric acid. The citric acid is not the cause of the tree, rather the tree is the cause of the acid. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of everything. He is the cause of the tree that produces the citric acid. Bijam mam sarvabhutanam. Devotees can see that the original potencies causing the cosmic manifestation are not in chemicals, but in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for He is the cause of the chemicals. Everything is caused or manifested by the energy of the Supreme Lord, and when everything is annihilated or dissolved, the original potency enters the body of the Supreme Lord. Therefore this verse says, Adavante picha satvanam yadruvam tad evantarale pi. The word dhruvam means permanent. The permanent reality is Krishna, not this cosmic manifestation. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Aham adir hidevanam and Mattak sarvam pavartate. Krishna is the original cause of everything. Arjuna recognized Lord Sri Krishna as the original person, Purusham Shaswatam Divyam Adideva Majam Vibhum, and the Brahma Samhita describes him as the original person, Govindam Adi Purusham. He is the cause of all causes, whether in the beginning, at the end, or in the middle. Text 37. Every universe is covered by 7 layers: earth, water, fire, air, sky, the total energy, and false ego, each 10 times greater than the previous one. There are innumerable universes besides this one, and although they are unlimitedly large, they move about like atoms in you. Therefore you are called unlimited, Ananta. Purport. The Brahma Samhita says, Yasyaikanishvasitakalamatavalamya jivanti loma vilajat jagadantanataha Vishnur mahansa iha yasya kala vishesho govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. The origin of the material creation is Mahavishnu, who lies in the causal ocean. While he sleeps in that ocean, millions of universes are generated as he exhales, and they are all annihilated when he inhales. This Mahavishnu is a plenary portion of Vishnu, Govinda, Yasya Kala Visheshaha. The word Kala refers to a plenary portion of a plenary portion. From Krishna or Govinda comes Balaram. From Balaram comes Sankarshan. From Sankarshan, Narayana. And from Narayana, the second Sankarshana. From the second Sankarshana, Mahavishnu. From Mahavishnu, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. And from Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, Kshirodakashaya Vishnu. Kshirodakashaya Vishnu controls every universe. This gives an idea of the meaning of Ananta, unlimited. What is to be said of the unlimited potency and existence of the Lord? This verse describes the coverings of the universe. Saptabir dashaguno tarayar andakoshaha. The first covering is earth. The second is water. The third is fire. The fourth is air. The fifth is sky. The sixth is the total material energy. And the seventh is the false ego. Beginning with the covering of earth, each covering is 10 times greater than the previous one. Thus we can only imagine how great each universe is. And there are many millions of universes. As confirmed by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 10:42, Atava bahunaitena kim gatena tavarjana vishtabhyaham idam kritsnam ekangshena stato jigat. But what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. The entire material world manifests only 1/4 of the Supreme Lord's energy. Therefore he is called Ananta. Text 38. O Lord, O Supreme, unintelligent persons who thirst for sense enjoyment and who worship various demigods are no better than animals in the human form of life. Because of their animalistic propensities, they fail to worship your lordship, and instead they worship the insignificant demigods, who are but small sparks of your glory. With the destruction of the entire universe, including the demigods, the benedictions received from the demigods also vanish, just like the nobility of a king is no longer in power, just like the nobility when a king is no longer in power. Purport. Bhagavad Gita 7:20 says, Kamaistaistarityajnana prapadyantenya devataha. Those whose minds are distorted by material desires surrender unto the demigods. Similarly, this verse condemns worship of the demigods. We may show our respect to the demigods, but the demigods are not worshipable. The intelligence of those who worship the demigods is lost, rityajnana, because these worshippers do not know that when the entire material cosmic manifestation is annihilated, the demigods, who are the departmental heads of that manifestation, will be vanquished. When the demigods are vanquished, the benedictions given by the demigods to unintelligent men will also be vanquished. Therefore a devotee should not hanker to obtain material opulence by worshipping the demigods, but should engage in the service of the Lord, who will satisfy all his desires. Akama sarvakamo va mokshakama udadadi stivrena yogena yajeta purusham padam. Whether full of all material desires, free from material desires, or desiring liberation, a person who has broader intelligence must by all means worship the Supreme Whole, the personality of Godhead. This is the duty of a perfect human being. One who has the shape of a human being, but whose actions are nothing but those of an animal, is called Narapashu, or Dvipadapashu, a two-legged animal. A human being who is not interested in Krishna consciousness is condemned herewith as a Narapashu. Text 39. O Supreme Lord, if persons obsessed with material desires for sense gratification through material opulence worship you, who are the source of all knowledge and are transcendental to material qualities, they are not subject to material rebirth, just as sterilized or fried seeds do not produce plants. Living entities are subjected to the repetition of birth and death because they are conditioned by material nature. But since you are transcendental, one who is inclined to associate with you in transcendence escapes the conditions of material nature. Purport. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4:9, wherein the Lord says, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatmataha taktva deham punar janma naitimam iti sorjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. If one simply engages in Krishna consciousness to understand Krishna, he surely becomes immune to the process of repeated birth and death. As clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita, Tyaktva punarjanma naiti. Such a person, simply by engaging in Krishna consciousness or understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, becomes quite fit to return home, back to Godhead. Even those who are obsessed with material desires may also come to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead so steadily that they go back to Godhead. The fact is that if one comes to Krishna consciousness, although he may have material desires, although he may have many material desires, he becomes increasingly attracted to the lotus feet of Krishna through associating with the Supreme Lord by chanting his holy name. The Supreme Lord and his holy name are identical. Thus he becomes uninterested in attachment to material enjoyment. The perfection of life is to be uninterested in material enjoyment and interested in Krishna. If one comes to Krishna consciousness somehow or other, even for material gain, the result is that he will be liberated. Kamat dveshat bhayat snehat, whether for the satisfaction of material desires, because of the influence of envy, because of fear, because of affection, or because of any other reason. If one comes to Krishna, his life is successful. I'll read that again. Too much nice. Whether for the satisfaction of material desires, because of the influence of envy, because of fear, because of affection, or because of any other reason, if one comes to Krishna, his life is successful. Text 40. O unconquerable one, when you spoke about Bhagavata Dharma, which is the uncontaminated religious system for achieving the shelter of your lotus feet, that was your victory. Persons who have no material desires, like the Kumaras, who were self-satisfied sages, worship you to be liberated from material contamination. In other words, they accept the process of Bhagavata Dharma to achieve shelter at your lotus feet. Purport. As stated by Srila Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Anya bilashita shunyam gyanakarma dhanavritam anukul yena krishnanu shilanam bhakta uttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord favorably and without desires for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service.
You also have Madhya 19167 in brackets.
Yes, yes.
Because that's where it also appears.
Yes, that means when it's in brackets, it's put in there by the Veda base. It might not be in the book. Is it in the book? Yeah. The parentheses. One is parentheses, the other is brackets. Brackets means it's not in the book, and it's put there by the Veda base to help us go to the place. Therefore, it's blue, and if you click on it, it'll take you to that quote. And sometimes we say it is as quoted in. Yeah, it's a folio. It's a folio program. It's a folio. It was Eddie Gavsbeck. Eddie such and such did it. You can't say that. It's Eddie. What's his name? Eddie, can't remember his name. Eddie something whack. The Narada Pancharatra also says, Sarvapadi nirvinir muktam tatpadet vena nirmalam rishikeshana rishikesha sevanam bhaktiruchate. One should be free from all material designations and cleansed of all material contamination. He should be restored to his pure identity, in which he engages his senses in the service of the proprietor of the senses. That is called devotional service. This is also called Bhagavat Dharma. Without material aspirations, one should simply serve Krishna as advised in Bhagavad Gita, Narada Pancharatra, and Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Dharma is the process of religion enunciated by pure devotees, direct representatives of the Supreme Personality of Godhead like Narada, Shukadeva Goswami, and their humble servants in the disciplic succession. By understanding Bhagavata Dharma, one immediately becomes free from material contamination. Living entities who are part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are loitering in this material world, suffering. When they are instructed by the Lord Himself about Bhagavata Dharma and they adopt it, that is victory for the Lord, for He then reclaims these fallen souls. Shall I read that again? That was too much nice. When they are instructed, living entities who are part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are loitering in this material world, suffering. When they are instructed by the Lord Himself about Bhagavad Dharma and they adopt it, that is victory for the Lord, for He then reclaims these fallen souls. A devotee following the principles of Bhagavad Dharma feels very much obligated to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He can understand the difference between life without Bhagavad Dharma and life with Bhagavad Dharma, and thus he ever remains obliged to the Lord. Taking to Krishna consciousness and bringing fallen souls to Krishna consciousness is victory for Lord Krishna. Savai pungsang pado dharmo yato bhaktir dadhoksaje akaitik apriyata yayatma supersediti. The supreme occupation, dharma, for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted in order to completely satisfy the self. Srimad Bhagavatam 126. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam is the pure, transcendental process of religion.
In that last purport, Prabhupada said that the living entities are loitering in the material world. So I wanted to read you the definition of the word loiter. Loiter, to delay an activity with idle steps and pauses. 2, to remain in an area for no obvious reason. 41. Being full of contradictions, all forms of religion but Bhagavat Dharma work under conceptions of fruitive results and distinctions of you and I and yours and mine. The followers of Srimad Bhagavatam have no such consciousness. They are all Krishna conscious, thinking that they are Krishna's and Krishna Krishna is theirs. There are other low-class religious systems which are contemplated for the killing of enemies or the gain of mystic power. But such religious systems, being full of passion and envy, are impure and temporary. Because they are all full of envy, they are full of irreligion. Purport: Bhagavad Dharma has no contradictions. Conceptions of your religion and my religion are completely absent from Bhagavad Dharma. Bhagavad Dharma means following the orders given by the Supreme Lord Bhagavan. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Braja. God is one and God is for everyone. Therefore, everyone must surrender to God. That is the pure conception of religion. Whatever God orders constitutes religion. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. In Bhagavata Dharma, there is no question of what you believe and what I believe. Everyone must believe in the Supreme Lord and carry out his orders. Anukulyena Krishna nushilanam. Whatever Krishna says, whatever God says, should be directly carried out. That is Dharma, religion. If one is actually Krishna conscious, he cannot have any enemies, since his only engagement is to induce others to surrender to Krishna or God. How can he have enemies? If one is actually Krishna conscious, he cannot have any enemies, since his only engagement is to induce others to surrender to Krishna or God. How can he have enemies? If one advocates the Hindu religion, the Muslim religion, or Christian religion, this religion or that religion, there will be conflicts. History shows that the followers of the religious systems without a clear conception of God have fought with one another. There are many instances of this in human history, but systems of religion that do not concentrate upon service to the Supreme Lord are temporary and cannot last for long because they are full of envy. There are many activities directed against such religious systems, and therefore one must give up the idea of my belief and your belief. Everyone should believe in God and surrender unto Him. That is Bhagavata Dharma. Bhagavata Dharma is not a concocted sectarian belief, for it entails research to find how everything is connected with Krishna. Ishavasyam idang sarvam. According to the Vedic injunctions, sarvam kalavidam brahma. Brahman, the Supreme, is present in everything. Bhagavata Dharma captures this presence of the Supreme. Bhagavata Dharma does not consider everything in the world to be false, because everything emanates from the Supreme. Nothing can be false. Because everything emanates from the Supreme, nothing can be false. Everything has some use in the service of the Supreme. For example, we are now dictating into a microphone and recording on a dictating machine, and thus we are finding how the machine can be connected to the Supreme Brahman. Since we are using this machine in the service of the Lord, it is Brahman. This is the meaning of Sarvam Kalavidam Brahma. Everything is Brahman because everything can be used for the service of the Supreme Lord. Nothing is mithya, false. Everything is factual. Bhagavata Dharma is called Sarvotkristna. No, it's called Sarvotkrista. Sarvotkrista. Krishta. It sounds like not chanting your rounds well. Sarvotkrishna. Bhagavad Dharma is called Sarvotkrista. What are you chanting? Sarvotkrista. Krishta. Sarvotkrishta. Krishna. The best of all religious systems. Sarvotkrishta. Because those who follow Bhagavad Dharma are not envious of anyone. Pure Bhagavatas, pure devotees invite everyone without envy to join the Krishna consciousness movement. A devotee is therefore exactly like the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Suridam Sarvabhutanam, he is the friend of all living entities. Therefore, this is the best of all religious systems. Whereas so-called religions are meant for a particular type of person who believes in a particular way, such discrimination has no place in Krishna consciousness or Bhagavata Dharma. If we scrutinize the religious systems meant for worship of demigods or anyone else but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we will find that they are full of envy and therefore impure. 42. How can a religious system that produces envy of oneself and of others be beneficial for oneself and for them? What is auspicious about following such a system? What is actually to be gained? By causing pain to one's own self due to self-envy, and by causing pain to others, one arouses your anger and practices irreligion. Purport: any religious system but the process of Bhagavata Dharma, service as an eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is a system of envy of one's own self and of others. For example, there are many systems of religion in which animal sacrifices are recommended. Such animal sacrifices are inauspicious both for the performer and for the animal. Although one is sometimes permitted to sacrifice an animal before the goddess Kali and eat it instead of purchasing meat from a slaughterhouse, permission to eat meat after a sacrifice in the presence of the goddess Kali is not the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is simply a concession for the miserable person who will not give up eating meat. It is meant to restrict his desire for unrestricted meat eating. Such a religious system is condemned. Therefore Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityaja ma'amekam sharanam braja. Give up all other duties and surrender unto me. That is the last word in religion. One may argue that the sacrifice of animals is recommended in the Vedas. This recommendation, however, is a restriction. Without Vedic restrictions on the purchase of meat, people will purchase meat from the market, which will be overflooded with meat shops, and slaughterhouses will increase. To restrict this, sometimes the Vedas say that one may eat meat after sacrificing an insignificant animal like a goat before the goddess Kali. In any case, a system of religion in which animal sacrifices are recommended is inauspicious for those who perform the sacrifices and for the animals. Envious persons who perform ostentatious animal sacrifices are condemned in Bhagavad Gita 16.7 as follows. Atma sambhavita stabda dhanamana madanvita yajite yama yagnaiste dambena vidipurvakam. Self-complacent and always impudent, deluded by wealth and false prestige, they sometimes perform sacrifices in name only without following any rules or regulations. Sometimes animal sacrifices are performed very gorgeously with grand arrangements for worshipping the goddess Kali. But such festivals, although performed in the name of yajna, are not actually yajna, for yajna means to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore it is recommended that in this age, specifically, Yagnai Sankirtana Prayer Yajantihu Sumedasaha. Those who have good intelligence satisfy the Yajna Purusha, Vishnu, by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Envious persons, however, are condemned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead as follows. Ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodham chasamshrita mamatma parateheshu pradvishanto vyasuyakaha tamaham dvishata kruran samsareshu naradaman Shripama Jasrama Shubhan Asura Shveva Yonishu. Bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust, and anger, the demon becomes envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in his own body and in the bodies of others, and blasphemes against the real religion. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, are cast by me into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. These persons are condemned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead as indicated by the words tavakopa. A person who commits murder is envious of himself and also the person he has killed. For the result of committing murder is that he will be arrested and hanged. If one transgresses the laws of a man-made government, he may escape being killed by the state, but one cannot escape the laws of God. A killer of any animal must be killed in the next life by the same animal. This is the law of nature. One must follow the instructions of the Supreme Lord. Sarvadharman parityaja mamekam sharanam braja. If one follows any other system of religion, he is subject to punishment by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in many different ways. Therefore, if one follows a concocted system of religion, he is envious not only of others, but also of himself. Consequently, his system of religion is useless. Srimad Bhagavatam 128 says, Dharma shvanustita pumsam vishvaksena katasuya Notpadiyadhyatiratim shrama eva hi kevalam. Duties, dharma, executed by men, regardless of occupation, are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the Supreme Lord. Following a system or religion that does not awaken one's Krishna consciousness or God consciousness is merely a waste of time and labor. Shrama. Huh? Yes, sir.
And to be envious of oneself is to do things that are detrimental for yourself. Is that what it means?
Yeah. He said knowing what the result's going to be and you do it anyway, it's like self-destructive. So you must be envious of yourself. What do you think of that?
Why would you be envious of yourself?
Because you forget you're connected to Krishna?
I heard Srila Prabhupada say once that the reason we're so attached to this body is because we are in the body. And the reason we're so attached to our self is because Krishna is there with us and is our source.
But how does that have to do with envying yourself?
Banana, banana, banana. Want. Banana, banana, banana. Oh.
Okay, you cut off. It's a long story. We'll get to that later. Okay, 43. My dear Lord, one's occupational duty is instructed in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita according to your point of view, which never deviates from the highest goal of life. Those who follow their occupational duties under your supervision, being equal to all living entities, moving and non-moving, are not considering high and low. And weren't we the other day talking about the archaic use of the word envy? It doesn't always. There's an older, as they say, archaic meaning to envy, and oftentimes when we were talking about this when we were driving, right? When Prabhupada uses certain words, sometimes you have to look back to find out the context of the word. Yeah, well, it makes some sense. I mean, we kind of make it fit, but we got to kind of like, push it in there. Let me see if this has the archaic in it. Huh? Okay, the obsolete term is malice. Malice. Malice means desire to cause pain or injury. Intent to commit an unlawful act or cause harm. So that fits better. You see? Well done. Excellent. Fantastic. Now where were we, Samripras? Halfway through. My dear Lord, one's occupational duty is instructed in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita according to your point of view, which never deviates from the highest goal of life. Those who follow their occupational duties under your supervision, being equal to all living entities, moving and non-moving, and not considering high and low, are called Aryans. Such Aryans worship you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhagavat Dharma and Krishna Katha are identical. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted everyone to become a guru and preach the instructions of Krishna everywhere, from Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, the Puranas, Vedanta Sutra, and similar Vedic literatures. Aryans, who are advanced in civilization, follow Bhagavat Dharma. Prahlad Maharaj, although merely a child of 5 years, recommended Kaumara acharet pragno dharman bhagavatam iha dulabam manusham janma tadapya dhruvam artadam. Prahlad Maharaj preached Bhagavat Dharma among his classmates as soon as an opportunity was afforded by the absence of his teachers from the classroom. He said that from the very beginning of life, from the age of 5, children should be instructed about Bhagavat Dharma, because the human form of life, which is very rarely obtained, is meant for understanding this subject. Bhagavad Dharma means living according to the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita we find that the Supreme Lord has arranged human society in 4 social divisions, namely Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Again, the Puranas and other Vedic literatures set forth 4 ashramas, which are the divisions of spiritual life. Therefore, Bhagavad Dharma means the Varnashrama Dharma of the 4 social and 4 spiritual divisions. The members of the human society who strictly follow the principles of Bhagavad Dharma and live according to the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are called Aryans or Arya. A civilization of Aryans who strictly follow the instructions of the Lord and never deviate from those instructions is perfect. Such civilized men do not discriminate between trees, animals, human beings, and other living entities. Pandita Samadarshina. Because they are completely educated in Krishna consciousness, they see all living entities equally. Aryans do not kill even a small plant unnecessarily, not to speak of cutting trees for sense gratification. At the present moment, throughout the world, killing is prominent. Men are killing trees, they are killing animals, and they are killing other human beings also, all for sense gratification. This is not an Aryan civilization. As stated here, Sthirachara Sattva Kadambeshvapat Pritagdiya. The word apritagdiya indicates that Aryans do not distinguish between lower and higher grades of life. All life should be protected. All human beings have a right to live, all living beings have a right to live, even the trees and plants. This is the basic principle of an Aryan civilization. Apart from the lower living entities, those who have come to the platform of human civilization should be divided into a society of Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. The Brahmanas should follow the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as stated in Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literatures. The criterion must be guna and karma. In other words, one should acquire the qualities of a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra and act accordingly. This is the civilization accepted by the Aryans. Why do they accept it? They accept it because they are very much eager to satisfy Krishna. This is perfect civilization. Aryans do not deviate from the instructions of Krishna, nor do they have doubts about Krishna. But non-Aryans and other demoniac people fail to follow the instructions of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. This is because they have been trained in sense gratification at the cost of all other living entities. Nunam pramata kurate vikarma. Their only business is to indulge in all kinds of forbidden activities for sense gratification. Yadindriya pritaya apranoti. They deviate in this way because they want to gratify their senses. They have no other occupation or ambition. Their method of civilization is condemned in the previous verse. Ka shemo nija parayo kiyan varta swa paradruha dharmena. What is the meaning of a civilization that kills oneself and others? This verse therefore advises that everyone become a member of the Aryan civilization and accept the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should conduct his social, political, and religious affairs according to his instructions. We are spreading the Krishna consciousness movement to try to establish a society the way Krishna wants it. This is the meaning of Krishna consciousness. We are therefore presenting Bhagavad Gita as it is and kicking out all kinds of mental concoction. Fools and rascals interpret Bhagavad Gita in their own way. When Krishna says, Manmana bhavamad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru, always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage to me, unto me, they comment that this is not Krishna to whom we must surrender. Thus they derive imaginary meanings from Bhagavad Gita. The Krishna consciousness movement, however, strictly follows Bhagavad Dharma, the instructions of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, for the complete welfare of human society. One who misinterprets Bhagavad Gita, twisting out some meaning for his sense gratification, is a non-Aryan. Therefore, commentaries on Bhagavad Gita by such persons should be immediately rejected. One should try to follow Bhagavad Gita as it is. In Bhagavad Gita 12.6-7, Lord Sri Krishna says, Yetu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matpara Ananyena eva yogena mam tyayanta upasate. Tesham aham samudharta mrityu samsara sagarat. Bhavina chirat parta maya vishicha chetasam. For one who worships me, giving up all his activities unto me, and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service and always meditating upon me, who has fixed his mind upon me, O son of Prita, for him I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. You may.
This sentence. We are spreading the Krishna consciousness movement to try to establish a society the way that Krishna wants it. This is the meaning of Krishna consciousness. We are therefore presenting Bhagavad Gita as it is and kicking out all kinds of mental concoction. My suggestion is that every time we have a meeting in an organizational management sense, we should say this first.
Duly noted and ordered. It shall be so. (45) My Lord, it is impossible for one to be immediately freed from all material contamination. My Lord, it is not impossible. You all didn't catch that? Or you're waiting for me to go back? You're playing possum. My Lord, it is not impossible for one to be immediately freed from all material contamination by seeing you. Not to speak of seeing you personally, merely by hearing the holy name of your Lordship only once. Even Chandalas, men of the lowest class, are freed from all material contamination. Under the circumstances, who will not be freed from material contamination simply by seeing you? Purport. As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 9.5.16, Yanama Shuti Matrena Puman Pavati Nirmala. Simply by hearing the holy name of the Lord, one is immediately purified. Therefore, in this age of Kali, when people are very contaminated, when all people are very contaminated, the chanting of the holy name of the Lord is recommended as the only means of improvement. Harinama, Harinama, Harinameva Kevalam, Kalau Nasteva, 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 Gatiranyata. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. There's no other way, there's no other way, there's no other way. Brihan Naradiya Purana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced this chanting of the holy name 500 years ago. And now through the Krishna consciousness movement, the Hare Krishna movement, we are actually seeing that men who are considered to belong to the lowest class are being delivered from all sinful activities simply by hearing the holy name of the Lord. Samsara, material existence, is a result of sinful actions. Everyone in this material world is condemned. Yet, as there are different grades of prisoners, there are different grades of men. All of them in all statuses of life are suffering. To stop the suffering of material existence, one must take to the Hare Krishna movement of Sankirtan or Krishna conscious life. Herein it is said, Yanama Sakrit Shravanat. The holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so powerful that if once heard without offenses, it can purify the lowest of men. Kirata Hunandra Pulinda Pulakasha. Such men who are called Chandalas are less than Shudras, but they also can be purified simply by hearing the holy name of the Lord, not to speak of personally seeing the Lord. From our present position, the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be personally seen as the deity in the temple. The deity of the Lord is not different from the Supreme Lord. Because we cannot see the Supreme Lord with our present blunt eyes, the Lord has kindly consented to come before us in a form we can see. Therefore, the deity in the temple should not be considered material. By offering food to the deity and by decorating and serving the deity, one gets the same result that one derives from serving the Lord personally in Vaikuntha. There you have it. Text number 45. Therefore, my dear Lord, simply seeing you has now wiped out all the contamination of sinful activities and the results of material attachment and lusty desires, which always filled my mind and the core of my heart. Whatever is predicted by the great sage Narada Muni cannot be otherwise. In other words, I have obtained your audience as a result of being trained by Narada Muni. Purport: this is the process of the perfect way. One must take lessons from authorities like Narada, Vyas, Asita, and follow their principles. Then one will be able to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead even with one's own eyes. One only needs training. Atashi Krishna Namadi Nabhaved Krayam Indriye. With our blunt senses and other senses, we cannot perceive the Supreme. With our blunt eyes and other senses, we cannot perceive the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But if we engage our senses in the service of the Lord according to the instructions of the authorities, it will be possible to see Him. As soon as one sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all the sinful reactions in the core of one's heart are certainly vanquished. And that ends tonight's reading and discussion of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We thank everyone for participating from various locations around the world and for joining us here at Govardhan Hill. Gaur Premanande Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Nitai Bo Hari Bo Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Vanchakalpadurvishya Kripasnabheva Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Nantakoti Vaishnaviniki Jai. Thanks for stopping by, everyone. Shlokas